it because I haven't got a clue. He was supposed to be the one who's supposed to be here to he knew what everyone's up to and what they've been up to and what they've done in the past, and I'm terrible. So maybe we just hello everyone, welcome to Geeky Weekly, and we're joined by Raphael and Bill. I won't try your last name because I might mess it up.
Field, Field.
Yeah, I know. Your one was easier, but I thought if I just don't say either of them.
My Field.
Yevis.
There it is. There, it's on the bottom of your name as well. So, should we just introduce what it is you get up to? Well, so waiting for Carl to come in. Carl has invited both these people, and now he's not able to come into the stream, and I am just like floundering. So let's start with maybe introduce yourselves. Does that be all right?
Sure.
Raphael, you go first.
Yeah, let Raphael start. Yeah.
My name is Raphael Nieves. I've been a comic book writer for going on 30 plus years, mainly in the independent market, where I'm happily ensconced. I don't make any money at it, but I love doing it. That's why God made day jobs.
Hi.
Hello, Kyle. Good of you to join us.
Guys, I got on and then it booted me out when I jumped back off with Bill, and then it just kept giving me your camera and mic will not work.
Wow.
Blah, blah, blah.
It took me 6 times to get on. I'm not even set up in my library yet.
Well,
okay.
I thought I was going to be all set up for it. The wife just dashed off. So,
Bill,
Rafi, great to see you guys. Sorry, I'm such a klutz dripping in 5 minutes.
You're
late.
fine, man.
Yeah. So we talk to Raphael first because he's got to get off. Bill, you're going to be here for the whole stream, aren't you? Is that right?
Sure.
Yeah. So if we can talk to Raphael first, so he can get about the rest of his day.
All right.
Sure.
Well, thank you for taking time out of your day, there, Raphael.
Absolutely.
Brother,
Absolutely.
I appreciate
Happy
you
to be
so
here.
much. So, and my phone's been acting up obviously today because I couldn't even. That might be part of my problem as I was doing this 1 gigabyte download for an awesome new book that my phone's giving me fits about because new phones, awesome new book. So
sure.
Tell us about the new book.
In anticipation of being on the show here, I sent Kyle a PDF of my latest project, which is just successfully funded on Kickstarter, and it's a 72-page graphic novel about werewolves. And but you know what? I'm getting ahead of myself because I did my introduction, but Bill, Gray, Kyle, you've not done yours. So
okay, then we'll have a quick chat with Bill then.
All right.
Okay. Well, I'm Bill Field. I'm a comic book historian. I've run a couple cons, at least from the artist angle. I've been a comic artist, a video game artist. I worked on the Justice League Task Force arcade game years ago. I currently produce and host the first TV series on the Shroud of Turin. I'm a TV producer and director by trade, but I love comics and I love the medium and I love animation, and so here I am.
And show off that book, brother. Show off that book.
I'll have to find it. I can't find it anywhere. I was looking for it. I brought a bunch of other books to like show off that aren't mine, but yeah. And I did recently co-write a book on Neil Adams that came out about 6 months before he died. And,
oh gosh.
And it's Neil Adams, master illustrator, and I co-wrote that with Alex Grand, who's pretty well known as an author himself, and he also runs the Comic Book Historian site. We did the Comic Book Historian podcast for years together, but we're both so busy doing other projects now we don't do that. But that's me in a nutshell.
An awesome dude from San Antonio.
And I'm in Texas, yes.
And everybody knows I'm a schmo from Indiana. And did you hear Bill's initial reaction when he came on, Gray? When he said, you didn't tell me Alan Moore was going to be on the show with you.
I apologize.
He gets mistaken for Alan Moore. He looks and sounds like Alan Moore.
That's why they call me Billy the Kidder. But no, but so I know nothing about you, Gray. What do you do?
I read comics.
That's all we need to know.
He's a prolific YouTuber. That's what he is, and he's a handsome devil from London.
He is, man.
He doesn't toot his own horn, but
that's got enough.
I'm good.
I love him on the Jethro Tull Aqualung cover too. I'm kidding you, but that's me.
Fair enough. Let's talk about your books then, because you got the Werewolf. So talk about the Werewolf book first. I was saying Raphael wanted to get out a bit earlier, so
go, Raph, go.
Yeah. So anyway, I
some of your other projects previously.
I write a lot of horror comics. It's the medium, it's the genre that I absolutely love. I love reading comics. I couldn't write a superhero comic to save my life.
Take that back. Take that back. I've read Hellstorm.
Well,
come on now.
Hellstorm was my horror comic for the biggest superhero publishing company in the world,
and absolutely incredible too. So
thank you.
Come on.
How'd you feel about the TV adaptation?
I would have felt much better about it if I'd gotten a paycheck from it.
Well, of course.
No. I thought it was okay. I thought it was. I thought they took a lot of that type of horror TV show trope, all that stuff, and brought it into this character. And so I thought it was fine. I thought the ending, the last couple of episodes were pretty great, and I was really looking forward to seeing how they would progress the show.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't really touch on a lot of stuff that is pretty much canon for that character.
And, it seems like they made up canon or their own canon for a show.
Yeah, it was really, really interesting. So I have hopes that one day someone will come back and do it right. I was rightly fired from Marvel because I was so bad at writing comics the Marvel way. And yeah. This is back in 1993, and the Marvel style, which was prevalent at that point, was you pretty much write one paragraph for every comic book page. And I was so used to writing a full script. I'm blocking the action. I'm doing all the dialogue. I'm doing all the narration. I'm doing time of day. And there
utterly brilliant. Utterly brilliant.
I've got that.
Friend.
That's the only one of that series I've got, though.
Yeah.
That's gorgeous, by the way.
Yeah, the art is by Michael Baer. Something else I wrote called Cold Blooded. That cover is by Kelly Jones. The interior art is by Kyle Hotz. That was a lot of fun. What's interesting is that the first issue of Hellstorm and the first issue of Cold Blooded, the vampire magazine comic that I wrote, came out right about the same time. I think within the same 2 months. Okay. Oh, Kyle, you really do read my stuff.
Dude, I didn't even pull out half the calibers.
Wow.
I built. And then, of course, when I've got the entire series, so everything you've scribbled on for Marvel, I've got right through there.
Yeah.
And, of course, my favorite of them all.
Oh, yay.
He signed me a copy and sent it to me.
So Forgotten Lore is this thing that I self-publish now. It's a compendium of all the short stories that I've written from the last 30 years. All the ones that I'm allowed to reprint. I'm still having some legal problems with some of the other short stories, but I love the short story. I mean, if you tell a story in 8 pages, that's an art form, and I like to think of myself as a student of that art form, and I don't get invited a lot to participate in anthologies very much. So I decided I'll just take these short stories that I've done, that I have copies of, and reintroduce myself to new readers. And so it's a lot of fun to do, and it's my own little anthology. So cool. No one's going to tell me I can't do it. So, well, I mean they could, but I'm not going to stop. So
Then you got crazy fans like me and Peggy Biddle who are just lavishing you with praise constantly.
You know, without you and Peggy, I'd be lost, Kyle.
Yeah.
I'd be lost.
So I mean, for obvious reasons, I lavish this man in praise, and I've loved his stuff since the indie stuff going back, because you see that name and it's like, man, I'm gonna like this book.
You're very
so
kind.
What got you into horror then, rather than superhero stuff? You never read superhero stuff as a kid, or?
Oh my gosh, I read everything. My brother was an avid comic book reader, not collector, because we didn't do that back in the 60s. You read the comic, you rolled it up, you put it in your back pocket, you're done. But my brother just couldn't throw anything away. So every week he would buy Archie comics, Richie Rich. He would buy Skywald. He would buy Warren comics. He would buy everything, Marvel, DC, all that stuff, and all the superhero stuff. And I would lap that stuff up. It was just so great. But because of him, I was able to kind of expand my horizons in terms of my comic book interest. I mean, I was a kid. I was loving Richie Rich and Casper the Friendly Ghost. And that was great fun. That was a great education for me. Now, I always tell people that I basically learned how to read through comics, and so that was really, really great. But when it came time for me to try to write a superhero comic, I just couldn't do it. I kept finding myself just kind of repeating the same superhero tropes that I'd been reading, and and I thought I need to leave this alone. But my first published comic was actually a book called Tales from the Heart, and it was about a Peace Corps volunteer in Central Africa. And my co-writer on that actually was a Peace Corps volunteer. So, and what Kyle's holding up right now is the Marvel edition of that book. Marvel at one point tried to get the rights to publish or to take over publishing Tales from the Heart, and I turned them down because the publisher at the time, Slave Labor Graphics out of San Jose, California, they were losing money every issue. But the publisher, Dan Votto is his name, he published it even though it was a poor selling book because he loved the book so much. He loved the concept. So he said, look, I'm going to publish this even though we're selling less than 500 copies because I'm a fan of this book. I can afford to publish it, so why not? And so it was really wonderful. And I owe him a great deal of thanks. He has my undying love for doing what publishers now would never do. And we were very fortunate because that particular book got in the eyes. Oh my God! It got the attention of a lot of big industry people. I always tell people, like, it was a horrible selling book, but people within the industry loved it. I'd be getting calls from editors and people all over the place. In fact, Harvey P. Carr's wife, Harvey P. Carr, of course, the author of American Splendor.
Oh.
His wife, Joyce Brabner, was writing an article for the Utney Reader, which I always describe as a Reader's Digest for the intelligentsia, right? And she did an article about comic books for adults, and she mentioned Tales from the Heart, and so that was great, and that got us a lot more attention, to the point where my co-writer of the book, Cindy Goff, let me make sure I credit everyone. We got home one day. We're getting ready to work on the next issue, and she'd gotten a voicemail from Neil Gaiman, who said how much he loved the book. And in fact, when we did our first collection of Tales from the Heart, Neil actually wrote the introduction to it.
Wow!
And that was very cool.
I'm working on getting Neil on here too. I'm talking to his people.
Please do, because let me know, because I would love to meet Neil one day.
Harvey.
American Splendor was amazing.
And then Harvey and Joyce here. How ironic! Yep. I got this book a couple years before I got diagnosed with my cancer.
Yeah. And sadly, I believe she passed away last week.
Joyce did?
Joyce did?
Yeah, I believe so.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I may be wrong. Someone might want to look it up that's at a computer, but no, I believe she just passed away.
Oh my goodness, I did not know that.
I hope I'm not wrong. I mean, I wish I hope I was wrong, but I don't think I am. I think I read it last week.
Terrible news. Yeah, I'll look that up. Yeah.
There were 2 inspired prints.
Oh, so another side hustle, because having a day job, being a full-time dad and husband, and writing comics that no one reads except for Kyle and another dear friend of mine, is not enough. I also design 11 by 17 digital prints that celebrate the western suburbs of Chicago.
Yeah. I'm still trying to coax him out of doing one of my house, just celebrating the West Side Indianapolis, because it's amazing. It's amazing. He calls these things side hustles. I'm telling you, they're jaw dropping. They're works of art.
It's amazing.
Art Deco and things like that. And
I appreciate that. I appreciate anyone that tries to keep that in the public consciousness.
Yeah.
Well, you know, what's interesting is that my brother, who I mentioned before, was a great reader. He was an incredible. I come from a family of really creative people, and I got just a small bit of that. But my brother was an incredible artist. He had sketchbooks, and I would pit him against Neil Adams, who is, by the way, Bill, one of my favorite artists of all time.
Oh yeah,
and John Buscema. And but I didn't get that gene. I didn't get the. I didn't.
Oh, come on! They're coming from the man whose title in half these books I own says creative consultant, because you can manage the whole show. You are far too humble, buddy. I'm far too humble.
I'm working on it, Kyle. I'm working on it. So anyway, so I knew that I couldn't draw well enough to draw the way I wanted to, the comics that I wanted to read. But I said, you know what, maybe I can write. So that's how I got into writing comics. I would literally, gentlemen, I would take a comic book and I would peel back the staples and pull the pages apart so that I could see how they were printed. And also in the 70s, Warren magazine, who published Vaporella and Creepy and all that, they had a short little series in the back of their magazines on how comics were created. Oh man, I would just absorb this stuff, and but I always had that the desire to create artistically. So you know, I did some design work, and then I got an opportunity to design a print for my hometown of Berwyn, which I did, and it sold pretty well in the area. And I got home from the day job one night, and my wife said, "Hey, guess what? I got you a show the next town over." I went, oh shit! Now I've got to create a print for this one, and that's how the whole thing started. So I've got about I don't know 25, 30 prints that I sell currently, and I'm always working on something new.
Yeah, and every one of them has been just cool as all get out. So.
That's fantastic.
You're going to get that. You're going to get that house portrait soon.
There you go. And then he talks about his day job being a parent. What an awesome pops and family man. Because I mean, I see his post, and you know, I think I brag about my kids and grandkids. Man, he lights me up when I see some of those and showing.
My last Instagram post was a picture of me, and the words on it were God, family, comic books.
Comic books.
And you know, every success that I've had in comics stem from God and family. I mean, it's why I do what I do. You know, it's why anyone does. I mean, it's clearly I'm not making a ton of money writing comic books, otherwise I wouldn't have the day job. You know, but I don't. But I'm like a shark. You know, I can't stop doing this stuff. So I do.
So you never sleep?
Yeah.
Join the club.
I believe that answers the question, Bill.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
I do want to say something real quick to what you said about family and everything. I met my wife 32 years ago today on a blind date.
Oh,
awesome. And I'm in a, I don't know if you really call it interracial marriage. She's Hispanic. I'm white. I guess it's interracial, but some people would say white. I don't know how you say that, but I'll tell you, my family, my father-in-law has dementia really severely now, and the family is really bolstered together. My parents are gone, but we've bolstered together to take care of them. And if I didn't have my family, and if I didn't have that core, I wouldn't have anything. So I'm with you 100% on family, and about how that, and also I have a feeling that helps you an awful lot when you're writing.
It does. Yeah. It's the support right now. I mean, it's like I should be wrapping Christmas presents, but instead I'm down in the basement in front of this black tablecloth and my cool table runner, talking with you fine gentlemen, because my wife recognizes that, you know, in as much as comics is an important art medium, it's also a business, and you've got to promote. And you know, if you're not going to promote yourself, there's no point in doing any of this stuff. You know.
Amen.
Yeah. I do hate to pull you away from that, but man, I am glad you were willing to, because
absolutely.
And of course, you know, if you got anything that comes up, I'll be like, hey, if we got something going on and you need to promote it, buddy, I'm right up front cheering you on.
I appreciate that, Kyle, and I will take you on. Absolutely, yeah, I will definitely do that. So, I do a bunch of stuff. I love how you get these chats coming up. Diesel Punk, yeah, I'd love to write a comic in the Diesel Punk genre. I think it'd be great fun.
What is Diesel Punk? Is that kind of like Mad Max?
I would imagine, yeah, Mad Max probably falls under that. Okay. Yeah, it's
these labels, they get ahead of me sometimes, and I'm like struggling to figure out what's this, what's that. You know,
it's
so tell us about the Werewolf book. What's it called?
So the Werewolf book. The Werewolf book, many years ago, I wrote a short story illustrated by Andrew. What is your name, Andrew? Hold on. Oh, my God. I can't. Oh, Dimmitt. Andrew Dimmitt. Really phenomenal artist. He doesn't do enough work. And when he does do work, when he puts it out, people should grab onto it. It's beautiful, beautiful. This is the guy who will do 126 pages of a comic book and then go, yeah, now I'm done. I'm like, you're not done, Andy. It's not complete. I'll get back to it. And then years will go by. And it's like he's just phenomenally talented. Anyway, so we did this with this little werewolf thing. And so 25 years later, I thought, I really want to revisit that. I really want to go back and do it. So I reached out to Andrew and said, hey, I want to, work on this story and do a much bigger version of it. And he's like, I don't have a lot of time. And he's notorious for not having time. So I said, here's what I'll do. I will write this thing so that every page is a full page splash. Then you can do your thing, and it just leave me enough room to write my, my long ass copy and dialogue, and we'll be fine. So I sent him the script, and he's like, hey, this is great. Nah, I'm not going to do it. Like, shit. Okay. So it sat in a drawer for a little while, and I'm on the hunt for artists. And meanwhile, I'm working on other books. And then I met this really wonderfully talented Italian illustrator named Andrea Meneghin. And through the auspices of a mutual friend of ours, an editor named Antonio Salinas, who works for Panini Comics out in Italy. And I love the European mindset when it comes to drawing comics. Your people included, Greg. They just like to draw, man. They just like to draw, and so I met this guy, Andrea, and I said, hey, this is really nice stuff. It's not exactly the style I was thinking of for this book, but let's try it. So I sent him the script, and it was a 24-pager. So he drew the shit out of it, and I said, yeah, this is great. So I started shopping around to. These days, I publish myself for the most part. There's a small handful of publishers who I'm friends with, and I can pretty much send them anything, and they'll publish it. I'm assuming
Gary Reed was that way with you.
Gary Reed, God bless Gary Reed. Gary Reed was a dear friend, and I will forever be indebted to him for for just being a cool guy. You know.
Yeah, your two names went hand in hand with so many books I went through.
Yeah. No, definitely.
Is he no longer with us?
No, he is not. No,
Oh,
Gary was the publisher of Caliber Comics, and they published.
He was the Caliber guy. Okay, yeah. All right, now I recognize the name.
Yeah, he was the Caliber guy.
Yeah,
he was this. He was beyond the Stanley of Caliber. So.
Oh my God, yeah. He Caliber was the first publisher for James O'Barr's The Crow.
Yeah,
and
so many others. The names.
Yeah.
In Caliber.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And the guys you've worked with, your resume is just spectacularly cool.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, no, he was a great guy, and this book would have definitely gone to him, were he still with us. Anyway, so I'd met the great thing about social media, and I hope you guys will agree, is, my God, the amount of talent that you can find around globally is so. It's so amazing. It's wondrous to behold all these really wonderful, talented. Gray, the artist I mentioned before, David Hitchcock. I met him through Facebook, and I thought, oh my God, this guy is so talented. And anyway, so Andrea draws the shit out of this book, and I found another. I was friends with another publisher, a writer named El Torres. And he is what is it? Hackster? Is that the Hackster's the European Eisner Award, right? And he's got like 6 or 7 of them on his shelf, the bastard. And really well respected in Spain and Europe. And he was publishing a line called Amigo Comics. He really liked to do the floppy 24-page, 32-page comic in the American style. So he'd get these books printed, and he'd try to sell them here in the States, and people just weren't buying. The market was, well, what it has been for quite a number of years now, and he wasn't getting the love that he deserved. Anyway, so I sent it to him and said, hey, look, I'm here in the States. You're publishing here in the States. How about this? And he said, I love it, Raph. I want to do it, but I need more. I said, okay, well, it's going to be a multi-issue thing. I don't write long series. Hellstorm proved to me that that's not the way to go. So I'll either write miniseries or graphic novels.
How long was Hellstar?
Well, I wrote 6 issues of Hellstorm. Well, sorry, I wrote 5 issues of Hellstorm, and Hellstorm was going up. I don't know. Geez, that was many issues, and a lot of really incredibly talented guys came after me.
Yeah. And they carried your plot, so they did carry your plot. So yeah.
So
I'm stupid. I thought you said Hellstar. I thought that was something separate than Hellstrom. I need to get my ears checked, folks.
All good.
We're all old guys here. This is the old parts channel.
Well, when you write a book about me, Rafael Nieves, master writer that no one's heard of, then we can talk about all that stuff.
Again, right? I'm not no one. I have a global audience. But speaking of a global audience and a callback to your amazing prints, I had an idea for one that you may already beat me to, but I know a perfect neighborhood print you could do.
What's that?
One of the globe.
Oh.
How the world is one big neighborhood. Because here we are in Indiana, Illinois, England, and Texas. One world, one love.
Amen, brother.
That'd be great. All right, but that's 5 comics that I won't be writing while I do this print.
Well, no, see, all right.
You
write 5 comics.
Yeah, come on.
I'll do it. I'll do it in between.
You need to sleep.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then the universe.
That's right.
The solar system.
So
I'm not going all fanboy here like I did on DeMatteis or anything. But I'm not blowing smoke at Rafi, and he knows it because I've been telling this man for years.
You should have sent me a picture of one of these prints so I could have shown it on the screen so we would know what people.
Dude, it's been chaos here. It's the week before Christmas. It's just I dropped the ball on some of it, but his like Oak Park, Illinois things and their neighborhood things, and they are just their graphic art hominess that you just be proud to hang in your home if you're from there.
or if you're not from there.
If you're not from there, or you've been there, or you have family connections there, it's just cool. And I've been telling this guy for 10, 12 years how cool he was, and sooner or later he's gonna believe me.
This is the first time after 10 some plus years. This is the first time that Colin and I actually have this conversation. So
yeah,
so
that's
cool.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's what social media does, though. It brings, like you were saying a minute ago, it brings us all together, but it also touches on areas of our lives and our expertise and our artistic prowess in areas other people don't even know. I find out stuff about Kyle every time, like, oh, yeah, I used to be the Prince of Mars. And I'm like, what? Why didn't you tell me that? But it's just funny. You always find something out new about, so especially when you've lived life as long as we have, I assume, where you forget more than you remember,
right?
But I'm just so impressed. I'm impressed by you bringing back the werewolf in a different way, and trying to not go down the same road as usual. Can you talk about that a little bit, or how you formulated that?
How do you avoid tropes?
What's that?
How do you avoid the tropes? You talk about the superhero tropes. You can't avoid
exactly.
them.
Yes. Gray's right.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully, Gray, I've avoided them here, but I may have like just run smack dab into those tropes. We'll find out. For me, nothing is sacred. It's like vampires. Sure, the cross, yes. The sunlight, yes. But if someone comes along and does a really good vampire story and has none of that, I'm okay with that too. I begrudge no one taking something that is tried and true and then flipping it on its head. And for me, this particular book. Oh, so let me finish. So anyway, I Tori said, write more, give me an ending to this. I said, yes, I will. I went back to Andrea and said, okay, we need to you need to draw more. He's like, okay, and I do a really bad Italian accent. And one day, Andrea's going to hear this stuff or see this stuff, and he's going to just fly to America and kick my ass. But I say it out of love, but in my brain, because he and I we've never done anything like this. We've never done a FaceTime. We've never done Skype, anything.
Wow.
So yeah. And I don't want to now because I'm afraid I'll screw everything up. Oh, this guy can't write worth a shit. Anyway, so. So he draws this thing, and it's a 72-page, and I use the term werewolf, but the actual title of the book is Wolf Hunt: The Werebeasts of Bleak Street. Bleak Street is my own little world. It's my Gotham. It's my metropolis, and many, if not most, if not all, of my horror stories all take place in or around Bleak Street. And so it's 72 pages. Amiga could not publish it at that point because they were having some financial issues because of the Torres is from Spain, and so he was having a lot of problems with the economics in Spain and the financial institutions, and his banks were just screwing him over left and right. So I didn't know what to do. I've got this book, 72 pages, black and white. Self-publishing is cheaper, but it's not cheap. So I thought, how the hell am I going to get 72 pages published? So as this is going on, I was invited. I was invited to collaborate on a short story by another wonderfully talented artist named Bill Hallier. And this guy can draw like nobody's good. He's just wonderfully, super talented guy. And he said, "Hey, I'm doing this short story for this newish company called Guerrilla Publishing, and they're based out of Indiana, in fact, Kyle." And so he said, "Would you be interested?" I said, "Oh yeah, I've these guys usually run Kickstarters for the books because they're smart like that. They're young and smart, and I've always wanted to try Kickstarter." So I said, "Yeah, I'll write you a short story." He said, "The book is going to be in 3D." I'm like, "What? A 3D black and white comic? I'm there." So so I did. I wrote some kind of 50s inspired 8-page story, and I can't remember the title now because I'm old. But so I did it, and it was well received. The Kickstarter was successful. The book came out, and I thought, hey, these young guys, maybe they can help me get this this book published. So I approached them and said, hey, I've got a 72-page black and white werewolf story, and would you guys be interested in running a Kickstarter for it? I sent it to them. They said yes. I said, okay, let's go. So the campaign literally just ended just a couple of weeks ago, and successful. So yay. And the book is at the printer now. And in fact, Kyle, I told Kyle the copy that I emailed him was in fact the copy that was going to the printer. So it's a gig. It's massive. This massive piece of work. And but I had no other copy to send you, Kyle. So sorry. And you know, I'm very excited about it. It's sort of an action horror story. I introduced a character named Abel, who is this. He's a teenage tour de force, man. He watched his father. He watched his father abuse his mom. He wound up killing his father and spending some time in juvenile detention. It was supposed to be a year, wound up being 2 years because the guy just can't. He won't get pushed around. He finally gets released. He goes back to his old neighborhood, Bleak Street, and finds that things have changed quite a lot, and there are monsters. These monsters are running rampant, and so he's like, well, you know, they don't really affect me until he finds out that they do, and so he makes it his life's mission to rid Bleak Street and the rest of his world, I guess, from these creatures. And but he definitely gets put through his paces. So it's a beautiful book. It's Andrea drew the hell out of it and left me more than enough room to be really long-winded in my dialogue. And I'm very excited for this book to come out and for people to see it. During the Kickstarter campaign, regrettably, but realistically, we couldn't do shipments overseas because of the cost. So so we were offering PDFs for people overseas to pledge and so they could get a copy. So I don't imagine that that's going to change anytime soon. But I'm hoping that Guerrilla will have an online component where people can order the book in PDF form. But it's great. I'm super jazzed for people to see it, and yeah, that's my pitch, Gray.
I can't wait. I got to get you my new address because as soon as that thing gets off the printers, I want a signed copy of that to frame up and hang on my wall again and brag about, hey, I know this dude.
Absolutely.
I love to brag, hey, I know these talented dudes. Speaking of talented dudes, I know one of the other Chicago contingent I was chatting with earlier today for shits and giggles. Hillary Bart has been on here a couple of times with me.
Hillary, I love Hillary.
We love Hillary. Hillary's great.
Hillary's a reg here, and I was talking to him today, and he goes, I asked him if he wanted to pop on and say hey, and he says can't today, but he wanted to make sure I told you that he sent his love to you, brother.
Hillary's a wonderful human being and an immensely talented artist.
So,
yeah, no, I love Hillary. The Chicago area has a plethora of immense talent. It's pretty crazy.
Raphael, what exactly is plethora? I'm sorry.
Plethora would be
Three Amigos joke. Sorry.
Three Amigos.
I believe if you looked up in Webster's plethora, the definition is a shitload.
Shitload. Okay, yeah, that speaks right to my brain. Thank you.
Straight out the Three Amigos there.
Let's see. At one point, let's see. Alex Ross, Jill Thompson, Brian Azzarello, Gene Ha, Hillary Barta, of course, Alan Weiss, Doug Mensch, I believe, lived here for a time. Jeff Darrow was here for a while. Yeah, just so many talented writers and artists.
Y'all the Chicago contingent because you're all you're all basically in the birds of it. But.
Yeah, it was funny because many years ago, early 90s or late 80s, when DC realized that there was just this wealth of talent in the Chicago area, they actually had a little event, and Dick Giordano flew to Chicago and had a dinner for all these Chicago people and Midwest people, and it was so cool to meet Dick Giordano. I was starstruck. I'm not starstruck easily, but Dick Giordano, yeah, I was thrilled to meet him.
I'm just glad you were starstruck meeting me, because that's why we're here.
yeah, absolutely. Listen, the horror genre is it's probably the purest expression of recounting the human experience, right? Because
Amen.
There's no cape or cowl or tights to hide behind. There's not a superpower. The superpower is whatever the characters that I write have within themselves to get out of a situation. And
I happen to just have this nearby,
yes.
but
yeah.
This to most of us was the apex of that.
Absolutely.
That era and that. Yeah. So I just wanted to show that off.
So that's my vibe. I like writing horror because I like scaring the shit out of people, and I like I like creating characters that are one step away from death. Make the wrong decision. I don't know. I watched monster movies when I was a kid. I watched scary movies. I read scary comic books, and I loved seeing people put into these extreme situations and seeing how they'd get out of it, without the benefit of having some superhero come in and save the day.
Right.
Are you a regular Spenguli watcher, I'm guessing?
I used to be quite a lot. I'm very happy to relate that I know Svengoolie, and I'm his friend. I don't know if he's mine, but I do know him. I call him friend. Those shows were amazing. Yeah. Gray, do you guys have a horror movie host in your area?
Not really. Not I can think of. No.
We had Sammy Terry for a long time. Nice old guy.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I have something kind of cool and comic related in that vein. So, Pat Boyette, the co-creator of Peacemaker, and did so much great stuff at Charlton. What many people don't know, and I believe Kyle, I think you and I have talked about this. I'm not sure, but he was our lead anchor man in San Antonio for years. But he was also this entrepreneur that created movies and all these things before he started doing comics.
Really?
And so he said, my looks are waning. I'm in my 40s. It's time for me to do what I've always wanted to do, and that's be a comic book artist.
Wow.
And so Pat created Project Terror, which was San Antonio's weekend horror show. And so that has a comic book tie-in all its own.
That's
and
cool.
It's just still, I think it's a great title, Project Terror. He was heavily influenced by The Twilight Zone and by Rod Serling. And so Project Terror almost sounds like Night Gallery to me in a way, but but that's what we had here in San Antonio growing up.
Very nice. Yeah, I love Pat Boyette's work. It was amazing.
He's just a great guy.
The Charlton books had some wonderful characters.
Their printing was pretty lousy, but for the most part, I mean, epically lousy. But for the most part, I loved their comics. And when I moved to Hawaii as a kid and then moved back to Texas, often in Hawaii it was easier to find Charlton comics than any other brand. Which
that's interesting.
And I didn't know comics enough to know that this is the third rung of the ladder, and there's DC and Marvel. I mean, I saw them too, and I was still at the age where I read a lot of Harvey comics, but Charlton definitely made a huge impression on me. They did an awful lot of the technical work on Charlton here in San Antonio also.
Oh, really?
Like a lot of the separations and things of that nature. So
San Antonio was also a test market, so for things too. And then we talk about London's modern horror host. Well, he's sitting right next to me, whichever side he's on, since I'm reversed. Graham's.
Now, Charlton in the UK, I never even saw any Charltons as a kid. I didn't see any Charltons until I bought some special because they were my birthday book. So I didn't really see Charlton at all here in the UK. I'm guessing they were here at some point, but I never saw them.
Really?
And the only thing I'll say about horror hosts is that my birth month, September 1969, I share it with 3 different comic horror hosts: Abel of the House of Secrets, Vampirella, and Digger from the Tower of Shadows. So, September 1969 is their first appearance, or cover dated anyway.
Wow.
Same as me. I don't know if that says anything.
Well, Tower of Shadows, that was created by Steranko, basically, wasn't it, Kyle?
I do believe so, yeah.
Yeah.
And I share a birthday with Mickey Mouse, so that should tell you everything you need to know about me.
Listen, that Steranko Tower of Shadows was just an amazing achievement. I love that story. Oh, gosh.
Hey, Raph, have you ever seen the original cover that was in red that Stan wouldn't allow to go to press?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. That would have been one of the outstanding. It's still an outstanding cover the way it was, but in the red, oh my gosh, it just. Red blood. I'm just saying it just is. It's an amazing cover to me.
Yes, Steranko's a god.
What's that, great?
So about Tower of Shadows #1.
Yes. Yeah. And Stan let Jim run rampant on it and do what he wanted until he didn't,
Right.
Because Jim took him at his word. And, Jim, I realize Jim's not everybody's favorite person these days because he's gotten political. But Jim's also an 84-year-old man that only wrote and drew 24 comic book stories, yet he's number 13 on the all-time greatest list. Even in the top 10, he's in my top 10 for sure. And if you think about it, Kirby probably did 10,000 times the amount of work, and yet Steranko is remembered for so little, yet he's still vibrant and still creating design and still, just a great guy,
Yeah. No, amazing talent. Absolutely.
Yeah. And he and Alex Toth remind me a lot of each other because their layouts and how they like to tell stories. And they both wrote most of what they drew, which was unique at the time, But I'm sure we all grew up in the Byrne era where it became more acceptable and more, normal to see a artist and a writer, do on the same book. Same guy, same book.
Norgo.
One of my favorite Steranko pieces.
Oh my gosh. Was he a real guy or is that a character?
This was a pulp character.
Oh, it's
signed by Steranko and Maxwell.
Nice.
Well, we all know, of course, that Mr. Miracle was created with Steranko in mind. That Jack knew he was an escape artist, which he did in the early 60s to mid 60s, and then decided he didn't want to die. And I think Jack was really impressed by that, and that he stayed alive probably. But Jim had a lot to do with, Jack's interpretation and realization of Miracle Man.
Mm.
Yeah, very talented guy.
And you're in that vein with me, Raph, just so you know.
Oh, yay.
I literally put you in that vein and kind of a Renaissance man.
I will take it, brother. I appreciate that.
Well, you are a graphic and a writer.
Yeah.
A graphicist.
Yeah.
I think I just created a new name.
I'm a graphicist. I'm
You're
using
a
that, Phil.
graphicist.
And a calligrapher too. Can't leave that out.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, crazy stuff. But yeah, no, Steranko's up there. Alex Toth is up there. Adams, of course. It's funny. My brother was a huge Neil Adams fan, and back in the day, in the 70s, here in Chicago, the conventions used to be held at this hotel called the Congress Hotel. It was on Michigan Avenue, which is one of our biggest streets, Gray. But in those days, oh my gosh, it's like there was one 24-inch table separating you from your comic gods. And
Exactly.
I remember going there, and there was Neil Adams, and we exchanged words, and we had a very brief conversation, and I walked away, and I thought, wow, I just met Neil Adams. It was very, very cool. You couldn't do that. Well, you can't do that now anyway, God bless. But yeah, I mean, I miss those days. I miss those days of being able to approach your idols and your heroes, and actually having a whole conversation with them, and all that kind of informs my philosophy now on when I go to conventions. I turn no one away. I speak to everyone. If you take the time to come up to me and talk to me, I'll talk to you. It may not be for long, but I love that. I think any comic book creator, you're beholden to the person across the table who's buying your stuff.
Well,
and you need to treat them with as much respect as possible. So, yes, fans can get crazy. I recognize that. But I've met some crazy creators too. So,
speaking of which, I want to interject a quick Neil story. When we were interviewing him for the book, I at the time had hair, and you can see it in the book. We have a picture of the interview. My hair was down to here. I still had the beard and stuff. And Alex is an eye surgeon and very well, well heeled. Looks like $1 million, like the guy you'd want your daughter to marry. Mm-hmm. And every time Neil would talk about Green Lantern, he would look directly at Alex. Every time he talked about Green Arrow, he'd look directly at me. And it was so funny. And I chuckled when I started noticing it. And Neil goes, what's so funny? And I go, I'm overwhelmed being in your presence. I didn't know anything else to say, but I didn't want to say it's evident you're looking at me when you're talking about Green Arrow, which is great because he's one of my favorite characters of all. I mean, I walked away thinking, yeah. In Neil's head, I'm Green Arrow, nice. But I just thought that was so hilarious and that's so cool. Neil, but so hilarious.
Yeah. Hey, there's a cat. Hello, cat.
Kitty. Cat.
Yeah, Neil Adams is just phenomenally talented. There's a person. There's someone who posts on Instagram. It's called. I think the poster is An Age Undreamed Of or something, and they post these genre paperback covers, and so they were showing, I think it was in the last few weeks, a number of Tarzan covers that Neil drew, and I consider that to be the absolute pinnacle of his abilities. I mean, it was beautiful watercolor. Pen and ink covers, and just amazing stuff. Just really, really wonderful stuff.
Would you like to know what he thought his pinnacle was?
Yes.
He thought it was Superman versus Muhammad Ali.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, and in fact, he said after that, everything was downhill. Because, I mean, if you look at the book, at the time, I remember as a kid thinking, oh, this is ridiculous, and then a few years later, I got a copy and read it, and it's gorgeous. It's a great story. It's a beautiful story, and I felt kind of ashamed that I thought, oh, what a stupid tie-in or crossover tie-in. Right. And but if you have a chance to look at the artwork, it's amazing.
Yeah, I remember my my father, who worked as a janitor for the Chicago Transit Authority for many years, he brought. This is the first time the only time my father ever did that. He brought home 3 of those treasury size books, the oversized books, and one of them was the Neil Adams Muhammad Ali book. And man, I love that stuff.
Oh, look at that!
Wow, that's beautiful, man. Very
Just
nice.
what you're talking about too.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's why I love being in my library. I can just step back.
He had a way of drawing Tarzan like nobody else.
Absolutely.
I mean,
yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's almost 3D the way it pops off the page.
It's truly he was a master of light and dark.
Yeah.
Neil Adams was a guy he could draw pretty much anything, couldn't he? Just
well, we're on horror about a little Jack Davis here.
Yes.
In fact, that book about Jack Davis was written. I keep having all these San Antonio things to interject. Was written by the guy who runs the McNay Art Institute here. He and Jack were friends. He knew his catalog, and he was the one who co-wrote it with Jack.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
Another graphic storyteller that I put you in there with.
Eisner.
Nice.
A little Eisner.
That guy's great.
I debated Eisner once at dinner when I was in my early 20s because he was going on and on about how Howard Chaykin was fascist because of how he was designing the costumes for the characters in American Flag. And I said I think that's a little over the top, Will. Honestly, it's, yes, it looks kind of Hugo Boss-esque, I guess, but at the same time, Howard was a man of style, still is a man of style and fashion, and he always gets it right. And to call him out as fascist over costume designs, I thought that was very petty. And from what I understand, Howard and he almost came to blows in Spain shortly after that, and because of that. And it's like it makes me sad because Will was a wonderful guy. I was around him quite a bit when I was in college, and it makes me sad. But at the same time, people get other people's work wrong, I think.
Right. I think that the big problem with that, Bill, is that when people of that caliber, people of that immense talent, who we look on as being sort of elder statesmen for the medium, they kind of start thinking, "Hey, I am an elder statesman for the medium, and I speak for all of them." And and it's just like phenomenally talented, but your opinions are your own.
Yeah.
And
God love him if you love him or hate him. Stan Lee was the opposite of that. Stan Lee was positive about everything. Sure. And I'm not a Stan hater by any means. Stan hired me once, and then everybody in his board of directors got arrested and the company shut down. So I never got to work with Stan. I was really looking forward to it. But that's another story. Stanley.net. That's another story altogether.
Oh, man,
but Stan, I tell you what, Stan once told me, he goes, "Billy, I've been in this business a long time, and you know what it is?" And I didn't know what he was going to say. It's a business. And you got to do whatever you can do to make money and make it a business. And he goes, I got lucky with Marvel. He goes, after 40 years or 30 years in the business, I got lucky. He'd say in air quotes. And I think that says it in a nutshell. And that's what the whole publishing industry is about.
Yeah. Well, and that's very true today. I mean, if you don't recognize comics as being a business, then you have no business being in comics.
Amen.
It's
Amen.
like I meet a lot of really talented young people. They come up, and because I'm the only one who doesn't have like a line at his table, I'm like, "Hey, you work in comics?" "Yes." "Hey, you wrote that Hellstrom book?" "Yes." "So you've been doing this a long time?" "Yes." "So how do I make it in the business?" I said, "Be your own advocate, And don't forget that comics is not just a media, it's not just an art form, and it is an art form, but it's also a business, and no one's going to take care of you if you don't take care of yourself. Gone are the days when you could have a publisher, buoy you up, and support you and send you to these conventions and take care of you and send you paper and ink and all this stuff. And they don't do that anymore. And you have to do that stuff for yourself. You don't have to be a dick about it, but you have to know that the only way people are going to read your books is if they know about you. The only way they're going to know about you is if you tell the world that you're here.
Yep.
Or you have wonderful advocates like I have Kyle.
Yep.
And it's true. You can't rest on your laurels. The next thing is your best thing. But if the world doesn't know about it, then what's the point? And you can't be jaded about it either. It's like, I think about, as I'm sure you guys will attest, I mean, there's an incredible number of really talented, I was going to say old timers, but I'm an old timer, of guys who have done some phenomenal work, and they're not getting the work that they used to, and some of them have tried to self-publish their own work, and some of them have succeeded, some of them have failed, but then there's a number of them who are just like sitting at home going, well, shit, nobody knows who I am anymore. I'm just going to sit here and pine over my career. I was like, why? You're immensely talented. Keep doing what you're doing. Find that audience. They're out there.
Another thing that I think social media is doing, honestly, Raph, is they're allowing people to talk to like, I'm friends with Ralph Reese.
Love Ralph Reese.
Ralph Reese is wonderful. Yeah. Totally approachable. You can talk to him, online, text him, and he answers everything. The guy freaking inked Ditko, for crying out loud. Sure. And he was a protege of Wally Wood. Yeah. And it's funny how approachable these people are, but it's also nice for you to tell them how much you appreciate their work, because
absolutely,
you may think they hear it all the time, but in many cases they do not.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Gray, who are your heroes?
Oh dear, I don't know, man. I just like the superheroes. I never really looked at who was writing the stories back in the day. I like Jim Aparo art, and I like Tom Mandrake. We had a chat with him a couple of weeks ago. When Kyle said, who do you want me to get on? For one, I didn't believe he was going to get anybody on. I didn't know how many people he knew. But we got Tom Mandrake on, and it was like, I just love his art. It's just like something about it. And he's one of the, because I'm really crap at telling artists, but he's one of the artists I can say, that's Tom Mandrake when I see it more often than not, Right, other stuff, like, I'm getting a bit better since I've been doing videos and listening to people talking about it. But back in the day, I didn't even care who wrote the stories. I just read the stories,
Sure.
So that's kind of, so when it comes to you, I don't know, I like, so like Tom Mandrake, I like Ostrander, who wrote Suicide Squad and Spectre,
sure.
and I like some of the old, when it comes to art, the old UK artists who used to do 2000 AD. Carlos Esquerra, who died a couple of years ago, and Kevin O'Neill died early this year.
Oh,
yeah, they were both really kind of standout artists for me. I really enjoyed their styles. And Pat Mills, the writer, did
sure,
Strong Him Dog,
yeah.
And didn't a bunch of those guys have something to do with the look of the band Gorillaz, if I'm not mistaken? Some of those artists, the animation, I believe a bunch of those artists.
Brett Ewings or something like that. He didn't do that. For some reason that name jumped in my head. It kind of looks like his style a bit, actually. I think about it.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah. Hewitt, right? The guy who did Tank Girl. He who did a lot of
And it's also the people or some of the artists that worked on. Gosh, what is that '90s cartoon from ABC that was all based on computers?
Reboot.
Reboot. Yeah. Same set of artists.
Peter
and
Milligan.
That led to Gorillaz somehow. Yeah. And it's amazing. And see, for someone that treads across different medium, I really appreciate people like that because, you know, comic artists can be used in animation. They can be used in records, you know, record art. Oh, look at that. Yeah, exactly. That's, yeah.
Yeah.
That's lovely.
Great series. Great series.
Yeah. Another favorite of mine, and John Bolton.
Oh, gosh.
I first discovered Bolton back when I don't know. I mean, it was a Warrior magazine, another black and white book,
right?
And the first time I saw John Bolton, he had drawn. He was doing these weird little 8-page or 12-page adaptations of movies, and so he did Curse of the Werewolf, an adaptation of that starring the great Oliver Reed, and one of my favorite werewolf movies. And I saw this thing, I'm like, holy shit, this guy is amazing. And that really it rekindled I've always had this. I love black and white. I love black and white comics. I think I don't think that anything's really lost by with of not having color in a book. I mean, all the Europeans did it. I mean, Italy was doing it, Spain was doing it, England was doing it. All these guys were doing these wonderful black and white books. And so I saw this John Bolton story. I was like, holy shit, who is this guy? And then when I saw that he had done, when he was working for Marvel, he did Murata the She-Wolf with Doug Mensch, which was supposed to be a Red Sonja story. For whatever reason, I don't know if Marvel lost the rights to Red Sonja at that point, but or something happened. But they changed it to Murata the She-Wolf, and that is probably some of the best, most gorgeous black and white artwork I have ever seen it to this day. It's just amazing. And then he did a couple of issues, or at least one story of Kull the Conqueror, which was phenomenal stuff. But yeah, John Bolton, Kevin O'Neill.
He reminded me a lot of John Severin in a way. John Bolton did, and I'm not sure what it is, but there's something they both captured in their black and white styles.
There was this sensibility, and John Severin did it better than most people. There was this wonderful sensibility, and Neil Adams had this too, where you would take these realistic looking characters and have them do things that were sort of extraordinary, and they relied on lighting, and it was all about the pose. I mean, they could draw a character in the most mundane pose, and you're looking at it and you're going, oh, I love this. This is so good. It's so well drawn.
Because the composition was just perfection.
Absolutely.
No, I agree.
And when comics went from being hand drawn on 11 by 17 sheets of paper, and once the book is done and you were lucky enough to get your artwork back, right, you'd go to these conventions and you'd sell your original art, and the only pages that ever sold were the pages that featured whatever superhero that was, right? And so artists, and rightfully so, right? Artists are like, well, shit, I'm making a lot more money selling this original art that's got this superhero on this page than I ever did. Like I could make as much money selling this one page as I could have drawn the whole book for the company, right? And then they get to the point where it's like, well, these other pages that don't feature that superhero aren't selling. So what I'm going to start doing is every time I draw the superhero book, I'm going to make sure I put that superhero on that page so that I can resell that thing. And do
you know what Gil Kane did? I'm not sure if any of you guys are aware of this, but Gil Kane felt real cheated because however, he did get most of his art back, but he sold it before he realized what he had. And so he would then go back and recreate cover art and not tell people.
Starhawks.
Oh, I love that. Oh, wow. How did you know I was going to go there? That's gorgeous. That's gorgeous. But he would recreate the covers and sell them and not tell people that they weren't the actual cover art.
Oh, wow.
And so people, I mean, by the time a lot of people figured it out, he was dead. So it wasn't a huge thing. But at the same time, I'm okay with him doing that.
Sure.
I mean, he should have told people, but but these guys had to make money, and they didn't make enough with the companies. Even if they were a talent like Jack Kirby, Ditko. I mean, Ditko made more artwork for Charlton than DC and Marvel combined.
Mm-hmm.
And Charlton paid much less, but Charlton loved him and paid him more than they did most of their artists, and they gave him complete editorial control over anything he created.
Sure.
And that was important to him.
Right.
And that's it. Sorry.
Phenomenal, talented guy. Yeah.
Blue Beetle was cool.
Yeah, Blue Beetle was. The question was amazing.
Oh, it's just wonderful.
Speaking of Adams's Pinnacle,
that was not it.
Peanut Farmer's own coloring book.
That's wild.
Did Neil publish that himself, Kyle?
Yeah, this was like continuity's first.
Oh
well,
God.
Continuity with him's first. I mean, once him and Dick got settled in, but
right.
Continuity Studios.
That was a phenomenal company. Holy crap!
Yeah,
I love that stuff they were putting out. It's like, and again, there's a prime example. Neil Adams, he's like, yep. I can make more money doing advertising art and storyboards and commercial illustration than I ever could do in comics. So I'll do this to feed that. And and it was great. And when they published their line of books, Samaree and Shaman and was it Mega Man? Yeah.
Don't forget Skate Man.
Skate Man can't skate.
Which was horrible.
I love Skate Man. It was,
but it looked great. It looked great. No, I owned it too. But I read it years later, and I'm like, and people criticize Jack Kirby for his dialogue. I mean,
right.
No offense, Neil, we love you.
I love Skate Man because he literally was the hero I could have been. He was the Vietnam vet. I was the Gulf War vet. But I could roll in on a skateboard or roller skates and kick somebody's ass and then skate back up. So,
no, it's great. I always thought Skate Man was. When I think about Skate Man, I think so. Neil was doing. This is all out of my imagination, so I apologize. So Neil was doing this this comic for a roller skate company. And they said, "Yeah, we need a superhero." Neil's, "Yeah, I'm going to give you Skate Man." And then the company goes out of business. And Neil's like, "Well, shit, I got all these cool pages of this guy on skates. What am I going to do? Skate Man the comic. Let's do it."
Oh, really? I never knew
that. No,
that's
true.
Blown my mind.
In my brain, that's how I imagine that happened.
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised.
What he said about it,
those were right after the Dogtown days.
He basically said he put that out to finance something else. It was kind of a throwaway, but it financed something else for him. So
sure, yeah, why not?
But okay, I have a quiz for you guys, and you'll get a no prize from me, which is an empty envelope with a cool illustration on it, just like the old one. If you get this right, what product or character group did Neil draw and help co-create that was probably more seen than any other thing he ever did?
Would that be a Serial Bee by chance?
No.
He created that one too.
Yes, but it would actually be Captain Planet.
Captain Planet.
Yep. And which is amazing because I mean, it was one of those cartoons that, remember when in the 70s when we were kids and we were watching cartoons, and at the end of the cartoon they'd have a moral story. You know, like, what you saw today, kids, was someone going, like Fat Albert. All those had those. Well, this cartoon, the entire 30 minutes was that kind of thing.
Right.
And although the talent they had was great and everything, I felt like I was getting schooled on recycling or something, which is what Ted Turner wanted, but I just felt like it was a real waste of Neil's talents.
Sure.
But it looked great, and I still have my ring. although it doesn't really work like the ones in the cartoon, but
right.
But no, isn't that interesting though, that you have to go to animation to get an audience. So,
sure. Well, and that's why so many comic creators went to animation.
Absolutely.
It was just like, hey, you can make some money, you can be a part of something.
Yep.
We were talking about Caliber earlier, and guy by the name of Guy Davis, who created Baker Street, which was a kind of it was a
alternative universe Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah. Really a phenomenal work, and he wasn't
it great? And the artwork was just everything worked on that book to me.
Yeah, and Vince Locke worked with him on that a little bit, and he went from that to then he did the Marquis, which was another great book. It was
Caliber book, yeah,
and now Guy Davis is working with Guillermo del Toro on all of his movies. He's a character designer.
Oh,
wow. Like God bless you, Guy. He worked on Pinocchio. He's just. I mean, I still want him to come back and do the Marquis or Baker Street. That would be cool. But more power to you, man.
Hey, man. We very rarely get opportunities like on that scale, and regular employment on that scale. As artists and writers. So, I'm always happy to hear those stories.
I many years back when I was in the thick of it with Gary and Caliber, there was I tell the story so often and I change so many bits. I'm sure it's a complete lie now, but now it's one of my tall tales. But there was Gary was getting contacted a lot by Hollywood back in the heyday of Caliber, and to the point where he wanted to create a page that was a web page that was solely for Hollywood studios and agents and all that. So he approached me and a number of other Caliber talent and said, give me some ideas that we can use for the Marquis. That's amazing. Love that book. So Gary said, give me some ideas. I'll put it on this website. And then if I get Hollywood to come call and say, hey, what do you got? I will direct them to this website. So I gave him 3 or 4 ideas, and months go by, and he contacts Mrs. Raff. I've got this, and again, I don't know how much of this is true. I'm old and I tell a lot of lies, and I'm a writer. He said, I've got this German producer who really likes one of your ideas and wants to produce a movie. I'm like, holy shit, which one? And it turned out to be this urban action thriller thing. Yes. And he's like, but you have to write the screenplay. I'm like, oh, Gary, I don't do well with screenplays, man. I can't write that stuff. He's like, no, you're going to have to. It's part of the deal. I'm like, okay. So I wrote the screenplay that was pretty much just a comic book script. It was like, I did everything.
That's what they are anyway, though, because I work in both fields. And honestly, if I'm writing something for comics or if I'm writing something for the screen, there's very little difference.
Yeah.
You have your stage direction, you have, you're establishing. I mean, it's very similar.
Yeah. Oh, that was a great. Yeah, Dead World. Oh my God.
Who drew that?
Vince
Locke. Amazing talent.
Wow, I've never heard of him.
Yeah.
Garth Ennis.
Oh yeah.
Deeks. Watch it, Deek.
Did he ever do any album covers, Vince Locke?
Yeah, I believe he did.
Because I've got a feeling they did some Cannibal Corpse covers for some reason.
Exactly right, Gray. See, you do remember these guys. Yeah.
Occasionally, a little spark will go from one brain cell to another, and I'll remember something. It's nice.
Yep. No, Vince definitely. I got to work with Vince on one time out of the however many decades I've known him, and it was for Vampire the Masquerade from the role playing game. The publisher Moonstone got the rights to produce some comic book versions of that.
Oh, and that's gorgeous.
Is that Kabuki? Yeah.
Kabuki with all the names with it.
Yeah.
Gallery.
Whoa. The girl with the dragon tattoo? What? Just kidding.
So I got to work with Vince on the story, and it's one of my favorite things ever. It was great. He's so immense, and of course, Vince also worked on A History of Violence for DC Comics.
The film came from that as well.
Hey, I'm sorry, I missed it. Raph, Vince who?
Vince Locke.
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 Yeah.
Locke.
Another Vince that I worked with in my early days when I was doing cons back in college was Vince Argandesi. Am I saying that right? He drew what was the not Justice Incorporated, the Justice Society spinoff.
There's Mike Deodato coming out.
Oh, that's gorgeous.
Brian Michael Bendis coming out.
Wow, that's early in his career, right?
Yeah. There's our old David Mack.
Wow.
How about a Stan Sakai most people don't know about?
Oh, I know about that.
Wow.
Very early.
Oh. Yeah.
That's very cool.
Okay, so I have a stack of stuff. Can I show some stuff? Oh, those are great. So I just grabbed a random stack, and I didn't know what I had, but I have this little gem.
Oh, yeah.
And you know what? As a kid, it freaked me out. And as an adult, I just marvel at the worlds Kirby could create within any realm, in any book. You know?
And the fact that he did it month after month.
Oh,
across,
I know.
6, 7 titles?
Oh, I know. And then this also has the glasses with it. But, you know, I miss this Batman. You know, I wish someone would revisit the fun, happy-go-lucky Batman, because I'm tired of all the angst and all the Batman movies. When I was a kid, Batman was serious, but he was fun. Sure. You know, the Adam West, the cartoons. I miss that non-edge, I guess I would say. But I'm surprised nobody's clued into that and done something more lighthearted with them.
Bill, I think at one point, not too long ago, DC did something called Batman 1964 or something.
66. Yeah.
66, that I thought brought back some of that.
Yeah, and I thought, and they did 2 movies with that as well. And we finally saw King Tut in comic form and in animated form, which he was my favorite Batman TV series villain. I love Victor Buono. Totally underrated in my opinion. But I really, you know, it's funny because they had both Burt Ward and Adam West doing the voices on those 2 movies, which I thought was perfect. Cool. Sure. And then they also had a movie as well. They had the Shatner movie. Shatner was originally in the TV series, but he was too busy with Star Trek. He was supposed to be Two-Face.
Oh, wow.
And so they used those scripts, put them together in an animated movie, and there's actually an animated movie where William Shatner is Two-Face, and there's an appearance by King Tut. And it's just, it's great stuff, you know, but it's funny. Not everybody gets the memos on these things. So many people miss these great uses of old media. And I just wish TV would do more of it too, you know.
I heard that Clint Eastwood would be Two-Face.
I had heard that.
Clint Eastwood.
I had heard that as well. And I'd also heard Shatner. So one of those is correct. And Shatner actually got the role because Eastwood probably wouldn't.
What I heard was Eastwood was the dream casting. I think Eastwood is who they wanted. That was for sure.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. But he was off doing spaghetti westerns at the time.
Yeah.
That wouldn't account for anything.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. Just his whole career.
Bill, my take on these various iterations of Batman. For example, my wife loves the Tim Burton Batman. Absolutely loves it. To her, Michael Keaton is Batman, and and I love the Christian Bale Batman, and that's okay. And this is something that I always try to stress. It's like people get all worked up about, you know, this version of a character versus this version of a character. It's like they both exist. They both are there for you to enjoy. You know,
Amen.
I do not begrudge my wife her love of the Michael Keaton Batman. She does not begrudge me my love of Christian Bale. You know, and I think that's true of comics. You know, that the whole idea of comics is you've got a creative team. They do this many issues. That's their take on the character. Once it's done, another creative team comes in and they do their take on the character, and that's okay too. You know, so it's like the world is large enough for these two iterations to coexist. You know.
No, but you know what's funny is I would have to say my favorite Batman, and this freaks people. It doesn't freak too many people out, but my favorite Batman, besides Adam West, because that's what I grew up with, would be Kevin Conroy. Yeah. And God bless him. I mean, seriously, he was a wonderful talent. He just the nicest guy in the world too to meet and talk to. And you know, it's funny. He came out in the last few years, and I don't think many people knew he was gay. And I think it took tremendous strength and tremendous courage for him to do that. Yeah. Because, I mean, come on, there's so many homophobes that read comics. I mean, it could be a bad move on your part. But thank God, I don't think I've read one thing where anyone said anything bad about him coming out or anything. Right. Thank God. But I'm telling you, the guy, he embodied Batman. To me, I mean, he was just the voice, but he also played him on the Crisis thing on CW, which I thought that was quite good, except it didn't capture his voice like it did in the animated series. Right. But the guy was to me was just a wonderful example for kids of who a Batman actor and the character should be.
Sure.
And I dare say people are probably going to remember the animated series just as much as the theatrical releases at some point.
Sure. More.
They were so much better. I mean, look at Paul Dini. He wrote I mean, if he had been writing some of the shows and some of the movies at the time, how much better could they have been? I think a lot better.
Right. Yeah.
But I'm opinionated.
Did you ever find a copy of your book there, mister?
No.
Oh my goodness.
Damn it. You know, I think I might have either given away or sold all the ones. I think I need to go order some more.
Well, yeah, I'm still waiting on mine, buddy.
Huh? I know. You're getting.
You got a laundry list,
I'll send one to all three of y'all if you want one.
That's so cool.
Yeah,
I would be more than happy for you guys to have one.
Yes, please.
You know,
that was Neil's last major collaboration, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yes, it was. and which. You know,
we'll find a way to get you one, Graham. If I have to ship it to
we'll get you one, buddy.
I'll get one to Stackery to Mark. And
Watchmen did so much for me. I have to give back to you. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Graham. No, but seriously, no, you guys are all getting copies. But what's funny is in the last year that we released it, we wound up having like 3 different versions because Neil came in and said, I didn't realize this was going to be this good. You should have this. And Alex got like 12 or 13 more pages of Neil's art just to put in there. Wow. And so the later versions are better, but it's funny that we don't differentiate, I don't think at all, which one you can order or not order. But I have to say, the first cover was black and white. Then we did a color version because we were waiting on Neil's daughter to color Neil for the cover, which Neil had drawn of himself. And you know, I think I like the color of the other one better than hers. However, I like them both, but he looks a little bit more like he has a sunburn in her version. But I have to say she did a wonderful job. If I didn't have anything to compare it to, I wouldn't make that, assertion. But it just, and his kids have been great helping us through it. Now, James Rosen, who used to be a reporter for Fox, he's writing the ultimate biography on Neil now through his family.
Okay.
And I have every fiber of me says it's going to be great because he's a big comic fan and he's very detail conscious. But there's so much story to tell there. I don't know how you can get that in one book. Because Neil had so many different, like you were talking about, Raph, he had so many different sides to him, and he's like a layered onion. He's not a simple guy to approach.
Right.
And I was talking to Tony Gleason earlier today. He used to work with him at Continuity. And he said, Neil, I'm paraphrasing here, so I might get it wrong, but he was saying, Neil was Neil. He had an ego.
Sure.
And people like Arlen Schumer worked for him. And, Arlen's now persona non grata.
Yeah.
Arlen was a very close friend of mine for a long time, and then he just went off the deep end. And but we were talking about he and Neil being very similar. He worked for Neil for 6 years, not as talented as Neil, and there's somewhat evidence that Neil got Arlen fired from doing Time magazine covers because there's a Time magazine cover that he basically ripped Neil off.
Oh.
I mean, so I'm just saying. But it's funny how many talented people worked for Continuity on different levels. And Neil really wanted to perpetuate that and wanted to have a house where everyone would grow. And I think he did that. And his wonderful, wonderful family are doing everything they can to keep his history and his work alive. And I appreciate that. Just like the Frazetta family does.
Absolutely, yeah. No, and I think that's important to maintain that, to keep that the memory and the talent of Neil alive for future generations and for old timers like us who I was looking real quick because you reminded me of something because I want to make sure that our British component here feels included. Alan Davis, Excalibur.
Yeah.
Incredibly talented guy. I was like he was like the British John Byrne for me. They both had a very similar sort of vibe to their artwork, I thought.
I agree with that.
Immensely talented. And Paul Neary. Paul Neary started out in Warren Comics. He did a book called Hunter. He was doing that. This was during he was sort of doing kind of an early Jeff Jones kind of spin with his artwork, and I love that guy. I could not get enough of Paul Neary's work because I was such a fan of Jeff Jones, and then later on when I guess he became an editor at Marvel UK for quite a while, and he did a Shield book that he drew. I think it was 6 issues, and I thought, oh my god, Paul Neary's drawing Shield, Nick Fury, one of my favorite characters, and so I went to pick it up and I went, this isn't Paul Neary, but his style had changed over the years. I don't know what I was expecting. It was still really great work, but not because I miss that 70s feel. I miss the early Jeff Jones vibe. Jeff Jones, Von Baudet, all those guys. They're just doing some incredible work.
Well, and here's a guy that he does. I don't think he's a friend of mine, and he runs Aces Comics Weekly, and I don't think he gets enough applause. But David Lloyd, who's basically the guy that created the imagery that we now know as Anonymous and all these other groups and Occupy and all that. You talk to him about the V for Vendetta stuff and that imagery, and he's like, who was I to know? How did I know this was going to become this? And I feel like he's a little like awestruck with, everything that was confluent around him that created it into this other thing.
Sure.
And I tell you what, his style is wonderful. To me, he hasn't done enough work because he always leaves you wanting more.
Right.
But he's become this machine trying to get new talent out there. And since I can't remember, not Kuda. DC tried for a few years to do a digital comic, and it began with a K, and I can't remember it now, but it had some wonderful stuff by Jeremy Love, did Bayou in it. I wish I could remember. I used to read it weekly when it came out, and then after 3 years, DC just pulled the plug, and you wouldn't even know it happened.
Was it Kinetic or something like that, Bill?
No, but it's close. It's a nonsensical name they just made up.
Okay.
And it was like Kudo. It was like a 4 or 5. God, man, I
remember that.
I wish I'd brought my A game today, but I can't remember.
I think it was Kuda, Kuda.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, Kuda
Yeah.
Comics, and I tell you what, they had people ranging from Mobius style to Jack Davis style to everything, and they just didn't have a plan on how to publish after putting it out there digital. They did some, but I'm sorry, it was Zuda. I don't know where the K came from in my head.
I followed along because I'm old, so I'm like, I don't know.
We got there.
Yeah.
But then David Lloyd started Aces Comics Weekly, and that is distributed through Comixology, and that gives a lot of people the same opportunity Zuda did. Yeah. And to my friend Jeremy Love, who did Bayou and has done so many other great things since, and another friend of mine, John Jennings, who is now getting a chance to create new characters for Marvel, and it's just amazing. And he's able to do it with Black centricity and bring his culture and his stories with him from where he comes from. And I think that's beautiful. I think that's a big sign of things to come. Milestone started this, but you need people like him. In fact, he did the graphic novel version of Kindred, and which someone picked that up. They didn't pick up the Octavia Butler novel. They picked the graphic novel up and said, we should make this into a TV series, which they've done now. Okay. And I'm sure it had a lot to do with John and his artistry and the way he did it. But I'm so happy to see these things come out now that we're not held within, smiling white guys, making baskets like a World's Finest cover with Superman, Batman, and Robin. We have this true merging of all of us, the melting pot it should have been in the first place.
No, I agree. I think it's important, not only in terms of just here we go, of raising one's consciousness, but just in terms of an audience. I mean, readers want to see themselves, even in whatever version. You know what I mean? It's like I write a lot of Puerto Rican characters into my comics. They're not always the good guy, and because I've known some assholes. And it's like I don't shout it. I don't make a big deal about it. It's just there. It's part of who I am, and part of what I want to give to the world. Because it's like ultimately, it's like all you can do is put the stuff out there and hope that you got one person who likes what you do.
And it's funny what you said about they're not all good guys in your Puerto Rican characters. My dad had this phrase. My parents were both civil rights activists and very left leaning, but they're from Texas and Louisiana. And my dad told me one day, he goes, don't judge people by their skin, because there's the same percentage of assholes in every race. He goes, and the same percentage of great people. So don't judge people by their color, because we all have our asses and we all have our winners. And I've always thought about that when I think one way or another about something. I just think, we're all the same.
You judge a man by his character, and I insist on surrounding myself with folks of good character, and me being on this platform with you fellas right here proves that. So
I was gonna say you were gonna say disproves that, but
it absolutely proves that.
I made an exception today.
I surround myself with quality souls, and this is global proof of it right here.
Well, it's wonderful.
Well, they say 1 in 4 persons is an asshole, so that's me. So you guys,
no, you're one of the 3 that aren't. I'm gonna.
Well, then I guess that's my point the right way.
I'm quite happy with the arsehole. I don't mind.
that British asshole.
Hey, you can't help that you look like someone who's known for being an asshole.
Might be there. So yeah, Gray is a genuinely good human being. He can't stand compliments, but us tend to lavish.
I want to just say really quickly, Gray, I can't ship overseas because the cost. You guys are way expensive. However, get my contact info from Kyle, and I'll send you PDFs of my books if you're interested.
Yeah, cool. Lovely.
All right.
Yeah, great. Yeah. We need to get Carl. You need to send me the links to add to the description box down below as well, because
I gotta do all the link things. I was grocery shopping.
Yeah, anyone watching, come back later on to watch it, and all the links will be down below to everybody's pages, so you can go and check out.
We had to run and get ice melt. We had an ice melt order because we have this bomb cyclone cold storm coming through that's going to affect all of us. I mean, Rappy's going to get it the worst. He's going to get the snow. We're going to get the ice. Bill's going to get the ice and cold. It's covering the entire central United States.
It's already started hitting down here. It's really cold today.
Yeah.
And here's the funny thing. San Antonio is the 6th largest city in the U.S. Not many people realize that. And we're the largest liberal city in Texas. And we're happy about that. But a couple years ago, we got hit really hard. And we had almost like a week where we only got 4 hours of electricity a day. And it was horrendous. It was really bad.
Took off.
It's just, thanks Ted Cruz. Then Ted, I don't mean to get political here, but then Ted decides to go to Mexico. But, it was one of those things. That's when he decided to go to Acapulco or Cancun Ted. But I don't mean to upset anybody on the panel. I'm not trying to get political, but it was weird because we never have Chicago weather down here. We never have Indiana weather down here. But in 1985, freak storm, we had 18 inches of snow in one day.
Good Lord.
And you talk about a town that doesn't know what to do when there's 1 inch. It didn't know what to do with 18. And it took a week for it to melt down. And the entire city, I mean, you would have thought we would have resorted to cannibalism by the time everything warmed back up again. But so there's something good to say about a city prepared like.
Uh-oh. There he is.
You pushed the wrong button.
No, somebody called in, and I just red buttoned them.
I had to silence my notifications there, but yeah. So that oddball over there in the UK doesn't have to worry about it.
You
guys get cold all the time, don't you, Gray?
Not too terribly cold. We had a cold spell last week or so, and it's gone up about 10 degrees now. So we had a cold spell, and now it's all right. We've got buy some chemical hand warmers to keep your hands warm, someone's saying. Okay, fair enough.
There you go. Absolutely.
Wow.
Is that your porn bot?
No, someone on Twitch. Someone on Twitch is watching, so fair enough. Cool.
There we go.
Very cool.
Are you working on anything new at the moment, Raphael?
I am. In fact, yeah. What do I have, gosh? So this book is coming out. Wolf Hunt, the Were Beasts of Bleak Street. I know that we're fulfilling. It's at the printer now, so we'll fulfill all of our Kickstarter pledges pretty soon. After that, I'm not sure what's going to happen with the book. I hope that we can get into a lot more bookstores. But in the meantime, I am currently writing a 5-part backup series for Moonstone books. I don't know what the lead feature is going to be. They're gonna plug in my story wherever they can fit it, and it's called The Uncanny Mr. Cairo, and it's about a mentalist in Chicago in the early 50s. And I know nothing about mentalism, so I got to do some research. But it's being drawn by Andrea Meneghin from Wolf Hunt. The first chapter is drawn. It looks glorious. Andrea discovered digital drawing, so now all the stuff is digital. So now he's going to draw even more insane shit, and that I'm going to hate covering up with word balloons and stuff.
Is it going to have like a noir feel to it?
Yeah, definitely. What I told him was he used a lot of gray tones in Wolf Hunt, and also on this other story that we did called Build to Last, the World's Strongest Man. And I said on this one, Andrea, we're going super noir. It's going to be black and white, and I need you to really embrace that. And he's definitely doing that. So that's
wonderful.
Very cool. So I'm excited about that. I've got to jump back on. I've been so consumed the last few weeks with making sure that the Kickstarter was going well, and that the book is ready to go to press, and working on some neighborhood prints, and also but the first chapter is done. I'm in the middle of the second chapter right now, and I'm trying to get that tone. And it suddenly, just 2 days ago, it's like I woke up in the middle of the night, and which I do anyway, but this time I actually had an idea. So I'm very jazzed about that. So that'll come out sometime next year. What else? The screenplay that I was talking about way earlier on, that I wrote, I'm converting that into a graphic novel, and I have the first 32 pages drawn by immensely talented artist named Hugo Petrus out of Spain. And this guy can draw like the dickens. I'm trying to decide now if it's going to be in color or not. It doesn't need to be. It's just so gorgeous. But it's part of a larger story, and I'm breaking it down. I'm breaking the screenplay down to 32-page segments. So I'm trying to decide if I do a Kickstarter for the first book, and then ask people to be patient for a year while the second book is being done. I don't know how to do that yet, so I'm still kind of learning my way through that maze. The one thing I mean, Kickstarter is amazing. I can't wait to really dig in and embrace that. But what bugs me about Kickstarter is, for me, it's like you don't do a Kickstarter campaign until you have a complete book. Don't say, hey, I'm going to do this book. Like, make sure you got the thing done, because people don't want to wait a year and a half after they've already pledged to get their book. So I'm debating what I'm going to do with that. What I will say is that, Kyle, next time I'm on, and I will be on again, I'm going to have some actual art from this stuff to share with you all. So I'm excited about that. And this book is called Compulsion, and it's an urban action thing. I'm really excited about. I'm bringing in a lot of my childhood into this, and growing up on the mean streets of Chicago. So I've got that in the works. Aren't you glad you asked, Ray?
Yeah.
I'm also doing another dear friend of mine, Juan Gomez. I've known him for 26 years. He's actually a former student of mine, and we're doing a book together. Oh, I'm going to talk about this. It's called Charon, and it's the story of the the boatman from the River Styx, who is a cab driver in Chicago.
Nice.
So I'm super jazzed about that one.
That has Vertigo written all over it, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah,
my
yeah. In
God.
fact,
I mean, that's beautiful.
In fact, Bill, I think when I actually when I actually conceived of this, it was to be a pitch to Vertigo. So that's how old this idea
That's
is.
wonderful.
We have the other rivers of Hades in there as well, like the Cocytus and the Lethe that makes people forget. Is that all part of the story?
Yeah. We got. I've got Hercules is in it. Hermes is in it. All the big heavies are in this thing. And the conceit is that. Oh, this is exclusive, Kyle. So the conceit is that. So he's been ferrying people along the River Styx and Archeron to their ultimate resting place. But how does he feel about it? How does he feel about these souls that he's transporting? And what if he got the chance to actually live a human life and experience that? And so that's what the story's about. So I'm really jazzed about that. I'm also doing. I did an adaptation of Edgar Allan Poe a few years back. His poem "The Bells," again with Juan Gomez. And I love Poe. I love adapting Poe.
I love Poe. I'm a huge Poe fan.
Yeah, so I did this thing called The Bells, and I think it was the first time that that poem has been adapted for comics. So I'm very proud of that. And every once in a while, there's this publisher out of Michigan reprints most of the story, 16 pages of the 24-page story. I'm bringing that back, but I'm also doing a new adaptation of The Raven. And I hesitated for a long time. I didn't want to do this. Because I thought The Raven's been done to death in comics. What can I do that'll be different? And it's funny because it is a nod. My adaptation of The Raven is a nod to superhero comics. So that'll be out next year too. What else the hell am I working on? Jeez. There was a book that I was working on for a while with another artist, and this was definitely it kind of takes all of my childhood growing up Hispanic, growing up Puerto Rican, growing up with an aunt and uncle who owned a religious icon store called a Botanica, and it's a horror story. It's called Dweller in the Cellar. I don't know if I'm ever gonna. The story's done. I'm waiting on the art. Hopefully, before I die, this will happen. So I'm excited about that. Shit. What? Oh, so and also
pretty quiet, then,
really. Just
yeah.
Got nothing else to do. I might as well write this. I'm also doing an adaptation of Macbeth.
What?
That Macbeth.
Oh, great!
So
that'd be the Scottish play.
my favorite Shakespeare play.
Unless you want to break a leg.
So I'm doing that one, and I've got to find an artist for it because I've got to do a lot of development on this because I'm actually setting this in 1950s America. That's all I can say about it right now.
Okie dokie, blimey.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm busy.
What happened with the screenplay? You told us about the screenplay, and I never heard any more about it. Is actually a film being made, or
no? So I write the screenplay and I send it to Gary, and Gary's like, "You wrote too much. Screenplays aren't written like this. Like you took away the director's job, the cinematographer's job, the lighting guy's job." So I did another version, and he said, "Nope, still too much detail." And then I gave him the third version, and I couldn't even recognize my story at that point. It was basically just a lot of dialogue. And anyway, so as I understand it, the German producer was jazzed. It was going to go direct to video because that was the big thing back then, right? That many, decades ago. And then somehow I think the German producer died. I don't know what happened, but it never got made. So it sat in a drawer until I could figure out what to do with it. I said, "Oh, hell with it. I'm going to make it into a graphic novel." So that's the 32-page thing. So yeah, and I'll share pages from that next time. And it really is just phenomenal art. And But artists, they cost money, so I'm saving up my pennies. So I pay for the first 32 pages, then I get paid for the next 32 pages, and then so I have to sell a few more prints.
Are you fan of Lovecraft at all? You like Lovecraft at all?
I love Lovecraft. I'm still debate. I've got a couple stories that I'd love to adapt, and if I can find the right one, that I feel like I really contribute to. If you can't add anything to it, then what's the point? Let it be its own thing. Let somebody else do it. I still have it in my heart to write a screenplay for a short horror thing or a long form horror thing. I don't care. Because I'd love to see my name in lights on a big movie screen. So,
yeah,
it'd be nice to do.
Inevitable.
Sure, but a big goal, Gray, is to get to. Is it Thought Bubble? Is that the big? Yeah. So I've never it's like I have some dear friends who are all comic pros, and they always talk about I went to Spain, I went to Mocha, I did that con, I did Thought Bubble. I'm like, when is it my turn? So
if our other co-host Mark had been on here today, he had some Christmas stuff going on. He would just ramble on about Thought Bubbles. So Mark's going to talking to you and trying to facilitate that, because he was hyping JM on that. And
these days all I do is San Diego. We have so many of these super car show autograph things that they call Comic-Cons in Texas that I don't want to be involved with those because it's so far from what a Comic-Con should be.
Right.
And San Diego, it has its problems. It's very Hollywood now, but it allows me to do panels and, talk about, the areas I like. But I just, there's just not that many cons out there that get my interest anymore, because they become an amalgamation of something that's not what I call a Comic-Con.
Sure. The big issue with that is, especially nowadays, is that if you call it a Comic-Con and you just concentrate on comics, no one's going to show up.
Well,
Thought Bubbles, I agree, but
Thought Bubbles becoming famous for being creator centric. Thought Bubble is becoming very synonymous for being creator centric and making it mainly about the writing.
And once again, Europe's got it down cold. I'm gonna butcher the name, but Angoulême in France. I mean, they have a whole week, 2 weeks that are just devoted to comics, and comic people are treated like gods.
Royalty.
I mean, didn't Robert Crumb like exchange 2 of his sketchbooks for some kind of chalet in France or something?
No, he had a trunk. He had a trunk of an old car that for some reason he stored all his sketchbooks, and there were, I don't know, I've heard as few as 100 and as many as 300 sketchbooks. And this guy had this beautiful villa. Sorry, I'm in San Antonio. The villa in I believe France or somewhere in that neck of the woods, and they exchanged what was in his trunk for the villa.
Wow.
Well,
listen, I've got a shoebox full of scripts. So if anyone wants to trade that for a week at Thought Bubble, I'm good with that. I don't need a place to live.
Well, if you want to come hang out in Indianapolis, I got a spare room up here, and it wouldn't even cost. I'll just do it for the shoebox, not even.
Well, if any of you want to come to San Diego next year, let me know. I'd love to have y'all. I run some not run, but coexist with some people that run some really great things there, and I'm doing a lot more panels. But if you need a hookup, cool. I can be your hookup. So please let me know.
Will do. Kyle, I am going to be at NWI Comic Con in Schererville, Indiana.
Yeah, I could never make it up that far.
No. Yeah, it's I'm going out of the kindness of friends, not strangers. But I don't drive, so I've got a buddy who's doing the show. He's like, I'll take you. I'm like, oh hell yeah, then let's go. So
you and him always get that close, and can't do it. I can't physically go that far. I've got to buckle down to be able to get up to Chicago soon to knock around for a weekend with you guys. But I'm going to figure out a way. And like I said, if I'm smart enough to get you down to Indianapolis, I'll put you up in my house. You know?
Let me know if there's any. Let me know if there are any shows.
See you next week. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
In fact, with all due respect, gentlemen, I apologize for this. I do have to run. I've already, what did I say? 20 minutes?
20. Yeah. We got 2 hours, buddy. Yeah. The gratitude is endless. So
thank you for having me on. It's been great. I've enjoyed talking.
Got more questions if you come back again another time.
Absolutely.
And you got an open door, buddy. All you got to do is just drop me a line and say, hey, you know, because we're not going to be on next week. We're obviously for travel going on, but it's pretty much a standing invitation. So
all right, sounds good. Yeah, count on me, man. I'll be back for sure. And I don't know how many online people you have watching this, but I hope you've enjoyed this. I'm on all the social media, so come find me, come say hi. And you know, like I said, Gray Bill, I'll get you copies of stuff for sure. Kyle, I don't even have to tell you, you know. And
I just got to get you my new physical address. Other than that,
right on. Yeah, please do.
Back and forth, but
all right, say nice things about me after I'm gone, okay?
I say nice things about you. Morning, noon, and night.
Bye.
See you, buddy. How about that, Greg?
Wow.
Yeah, very good. Cool.
That was fun.
He told me a half hour and he gave us 2 hours. That's like every one of them's done that. Like Hillary started us off and he said, I don't know, I'll do a segment. He was on for 3 hours. And Tom gave us an hour and a half. JM gave us an hour and a half. Rappy just gave us 2 hours. And we're not even done poking at you, Bill.
Oh, gee, thanks. After all that.
Well, I keep wanting to hype that book.
Hell, man.
Buy this book.
Well, so I have many projects that are forthcoming now, which I'm super excited about. Some more than others. I'm working on a new TV series. I'm also doing the first ongoing television series on the Shroud of Turin, and we're lucky enough that not only are we Vatican approved, but we have probably some of the biggest experts in the world coming on the show, which is wonderful. And that's another thing.
Send me links to all that. If you can get me links to
it. Sure. Well, let me say this for anyone who wants to just go now. It's discoverwho.org. Discoverwho.org. And that you'll get, I believe our second episode is dropped now. But it's an interesting series. I think you'll like it. We've poured a lot of Angela Cialana, Nan Belfort, Blanca Field. We've all poured a lot of our hearts into it, and it's believe it or not, it's not a religious program. Although
it's a metaphysical program.
Yeah, it's more.
We're all into the metaphysics.
We want the whole thing is. We want you to decide. Wait, let me get this right so I can do it. Okay, we want you to decide who is the man in the shroud. So that I do that every episode. That's kind of my Leonard Nimoy in search of moment. But it's been a lot of fun to work on. I'm working on something Poe related, also, which I'm drawing and co-writing with someone, and I'm also about to start my own podcast again, but this time my own, and it'll probably be Field of Comics, which is my group on Facebook. And anybody who wants to join, please come. We're more lighthearted. We're not kind of anal like some of the comic groups are because, you know, and I understand how people get about comics, but my whole thing about comics is comics have to be fun or they're not comics. And you have to enjoy them. I mean, they can spur a sob fest, anger, happiness, laughter, but it's a medium that people just don't think about, as a medium, I think. And it takes people like you two guys that do a wonderful show like this that get it across to people. And I'm proud to be
cozy.
here.
I got to put on the robe to keep warm. I'm just padding myself up.
I thought you were going Jedi on us. And I wasn't sure. Is he a Sith? Is he not? And Gray's over there. I thought he was a Sith.
I got a smoke in my 10-degree garage, so
I thought he was putting on his own shroud of chewing for a second.
There you go.
Yeah. His own shroud.
Yeah.
He has to upstage Jesus. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm kidding upstairs. But I'd be happy to come back on with you guys anytime. I hope I wasn't too goofy.
Oh, Bill, please.
Talk about it in more depth, actually. You was kind of like, if it was still going back to the forwards, it'd be cool to concentrate on maybe some select things that you've worked on or something like
I'd be happy to. Yes, I'd be happy to. But also, I just love talking comics with you guys.
Well, show us some comic books.
Fun.
That's what we do here. Show us some comic books. You say you dug out some comic books?
Yeah. Okay, so
I actually got some comics in today. I've got a haul in today, so we could maybe I'll show mine afterwards.
Yeah.
So this is that. So I'm considered an expert on Tezuka now for some strange reason, but this is a book that never got released in the United States. That someone who shall remain nameless translated the entire thing. It's gorgeous, by the way, and they made sure they had the right paper and everything to make it copacetic with the original Secret of Pyron. But he only made 3 of these, and I got one of them.
Awesome.
So you talk about rare. It's gorgeous, and it may be the only time this sees English printing.
Cool.
Then this is Vault of Horror. This people say this led to the movie The Blob. I don't know if I'd go that far, but it does look very blob-like, so maybe. But this stuff has become so huge lately.
Yeah.
The whole EC market. This is just a random FF issue I have with which is funny because it's the Thing going amok. Then what else do I have? This is a weird one. I got this about a year ago. This is #1 of Midnight Tales by Charlton.
They are great covers, the Midnight Tales.
And really the interiors are wonderful too.
Yeah, I've only got a couple of them. I've got a couple of one of them. Yeah, the what's the word? The header and tail of the story kind of thing. The linking device was really way out there.
Oh yeah, and he's gone now, sadly. But Wayne Howard was the artist. He was one of the few African Americans at the time to have his own comic that he wrote and drew.
I didn't know who did it, to be honest.
Yeah, and he was a protege of Wally Wood, but apparently they had a falling out because when Wood died, they found this thing called the hit list, which Wally wasn't really going to kill anyone, but he had like the top 10 people on there, and Wayne Howard was like the top of the list.
Oh.
And Wayne decided to give up comics to go into being a postman.
Oh.
And then he decided he didn't want to ever talk about his comic work again. So there's very little known about him. And he died a few years ago, relatively young.
Strange.
And it drives me crazy that we don't have more, facts and more like ephemera of these people to be able to do any kind of history on them.
Yeah. There's one cover where there's sharks falling in love with a submarine in that run. It's just hilarious.
Well, this is the first issue. And if you'll notice, let me make sure you can see it.
Yeah.
But it's Dr. one of Dr. Frankenstein's mistakes,
Yeah.
which are feet at both ends.
Yeah.
And so the humor was it was even more humorous than a lot of the EC stuff, but I love that. Now this is just something random I have. This is Harvey Toon, which was basically the rotating comic for Harvey Comics that could have any of their stable of characters in it. And I love Harvey Comics because that's how I learned to read, was reading those comics.
Yeah.
And I already showed you OMAC, but I got to do it again because OMAC is so cool.
What did you? There we go.
But I didn't want to show this because it's kind of arbitrary, but I believe Toast might have had something to do with it. The Hardy Boys animated series comic for Gold Key.
Nice.
And yeah, I don't even know why. I don't know why it's in the stat, but no, that's basically who I am as a collector, who I am as a comic historian, who I am as well. We didn't get into my animation historian. I think that would really intrigue you guys, because I have a huge collection of animation art I can bring on someday and talk about my connection to it as an animator. I would love to do that. But I have to tell you guys, this has been a phenomenal way to lead up to Christmas. And I feel like I got a present early today by being with you guys.
Well, we got a present too, man. Yeah, cool. Well, yeah, because like I said, the door is open, buddy.
So I can put in the description box.
But no, I really appreciate you guys and what you're doing. And Gray, we need to talk more.
Well, I'll sure we have
a lot in common.
Yeah, I'll find your Facebook page.
What's that?
Yeah,
I'll find your Facebook page.
Oh, please do.
Yeah, all you got to do is pull up my page. You can find him in my friends.
Send me all the links, and I'll put them in the description box.
Yeah, and again, if anyone wants to join Field of Comics on Facebook, my group, you'll see me as a scarecrow on the, so you'll know, like, but it's when I had long hair and looked more like a scarecrow. Gray, I might use you as a scarecrow one time. I don't know.
Yeah.
But no, it's been wonderful, guys. Thank you, Kyle. You're a great friend. I really enjoy our conversations that we have on comics, and I look forward to coming back sometime.
Absolutely. Yeah. And like I said, if we hang on a little bit more, you can hang on a little bit. If you want to watch Gray open some stuff up, if you want to talk more comics, we'll keep you in.
I would love to do that, but I'm running a little late today.
Okay.
But I would love to do that next time, if that's all right, Gray, because I'd love to see what you're reading and what you came up with today. But guys, thank you. Seriously, I appreciate you guys a lot. Bill. And thank you for the honor. And I hope I see you soon.
Absolutely. Merry Christmas, buddy.
Bye, fellas. Have a good night.
See you, Bill.
Merry Christmas.
Well, how the hell was that? Mark's gonna be pissed he missed that one.
I'll show you a few of them. I'll show all of them. But the 2000 AD Mega Special. Yeah, that panels that pleased me the other day I did with the Carry On parody. I basically had that, but I had a coverless copy, so I saw this going for a couple of quid, so I picked it up. Now I've got a cover. Got one Charlton, Ghostly Tales.
There you go.
It's a bit hard to see it in this light. A few Superman.
Nice.
Is that Adam, do you reckon?
No. That's actually pre-Adams. I can tell just by the print on the top. That's before Adams got into Supes. He didn't do Superman till 69, so, and those are probably 67 to 68.
A bit earlier.
Yeah.
That's DC Comics Presents.
Yeah. Am I wrong? Is that issue 20?
Well,
DC Superstars?
No, DC Special. DC Special, not Superstars.
They're special. But that's issue 20, right?
No, 17.
17. Oh, 20 is Green Lantern too. I've got that one.
Right. Okay. I'm trying to get the full DC Special run. Somehow I managed to get one that I already had. I don't know how I managed that. This one, for some reason I've got this one already. I don't know how I managed to get it again, but never mind. These things happen.
Yeah, and how easy was that? Those two just interviewing each other for half the show.
Yeah, pretty much.
We could
Pretty
just
much.
sit back
Good,
and be.
I didn't know much of anything.
Yeah, I was going ape shit nuts because I popped right on initially, and then Bill had
Yeah.
so I popped back out, and when I popped back out, it would not close the old one, and I kept doing everything short of shutting off my phone, but it wouldn't open it up. And after the sixth time, it finally shut everything down. Then opened.
I started panicking. I was like, "Where the bloody hell's Kyle?"
It would not let me come back in. It would say you can come back on without the camera and the microphone.
Yeah, strange.
And I had to reset it and reset it and reset it because it was keeping one open, but it shut it off. It shut it down, but it didn't shut it off.
Yeah.
And I had to get it. I had to wait long. Well,
Finally,
there you go.
Supergirl. Poor old Supergirl.
That's a bit of a pricey book now.
Yeah, it cost me a bit, 15 quid. Not too terrible, but glad to have it. It's a classic cover.
Well, there you go. And we'll figure out a way to get you some of this swag too. We'll get you. We'll get him a Mark Stackery thing, when the swag spreading out. We'll get it out over there. Because, like I said, I surround myself with genuinely good people, and I don't ask them for nothing for free. Hell, I try and do what I can to contribute.
I'm not even checking the Black Hole. This was going like reasonably cheap, and like I thought, well, what for a couple of quid? I wouldn't say no to it. You know what I mean?
Those are fantastic. Those 50s and 60s Black Hawks.
I love these unexpected as well. There's some great old covers on.
Well, there's the one in the Mouth of Madness, or in the
I was thinking that.
Girl,
yeah. This one features a green glob weirdy and Judy Blonde secret agent.
Judy Blonde.
Judy Blonde. Is that not a play on James Bond?
I'm thinking it's a play on Judy Bloom and James Bond. Judy Blonde.
Oh, I don't know. And a couple of Doom Patrol. There's a couple of other ones he sent. I got them from a Facebook seller, and he sent me. There's a couple that I don't know why I put. I think a couple of these I know are upgrades. This one I know I've got already, but really bad condition. So this is an upgrade. And these two, I think I've already got these in reasonable condition. So I've got a friend who I will sell them on to, kind of thing.
Well, there you go.
So a couple of Jimmy Olsons. So that's it. That's my treat to myself kind of Christmas. So he sent me a couple. I sort of cheeky. I said, feel free to throw in a Christmas present. I said, and he sent me a little stack. So
well, there you go. Yeah, last night when I got on with Roscoe at like 11 p.m. our time, which would have been 4 a.m. time.
Did he get the okay you sent him?
Yeah, he got the AOK I sent him, and he wanted me to come on the show when he opened it up. So I thought, well, I'll catch a nap and I'll catch the beginning of it. 4 hours later, we wrapped up, and my phone died because I killed my battery.
Yeah.
But it was him and Travis and me, and then Captain came on, and then K-Pop came on, and then Mad Spidey came on, and we were on for 4 hours just being fools. It was fun, but I couldn't move by the time it was done. This is like this. I wanted to stay cool as I could be with Raffy here, but I had to, by the time we got down to Bill, I'm like, I got to put on a robe and put this ice back on my neck because I can't even sit up right now. But I'm having too much damn fun doing this.
Yeah.
It's just fun.
Bit of havoc on the body, though.
I knew Raffy'd do that. He'd tell me, because, these writers are all long-winded like me. And he told me, well, I think I can do a half hour. And I knew right away, I'm like, well, we got him for a minimum of an hour, because if he starts talking, off he goes.
Well, that shows it shows his enthusiasm for his own work, doesn't it?
Oh my God, that Chiron story that he's gonna do.
Yeah.
I cannot wait to see that. The cab driver, I cannot wait to see that. So, and Caliber Comics for me around here, I mean, they're an independent publisher in the Midwest, but we get them down in Indianapolis a lot. And man, I got hooked on those because it's just crazy.
Yeah, it's one of those ones like other than Marvel, DC, really is all I ever got. Because over here, I've heard of Caliber, I've heard of Continuity, but I've never really collected them at all, or seen them in any great number at all. You know?
But the names that came out of there, I mean, that's what launched Bendis. That literally launched Bendis into the comic world. And a lot of those guys, you know, when it wasn't quite the big Image turn yet, I mean, Image was around for a lot of that Caliber stuff that was later. A lot of it I showed because Rappy came out about the time Image launched, but he was doing stuff beforehand. But that late 80s, early 90s stuff, he was just pumping that stuff out. And it's just good. I mean, it's just consistently good. That's why I could blow smoke at him, because he knows it's the truth, because I've been telling him this shit for a decade.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, I got stuff you did on small press stuff and Moonstone press stuff because it's good. I see it and I'm like, I know it's going to be good. Their bad stuff, Caliber, their bad stuff is like EC. Their bad stuff is good. Their good stuff is great. Their bad stuff is good. But they could never get along to it.
I'm going to have to end it now because it's 10:30. I've got to go and get my dinner, mate.
Yeah, I got to do the same thing. I got to ice down. And how many people did we get in today? It seemed like we didn't have too many commenting.
No, we had about 4 or 5 at the most at one time.
Yeah. I mean, sadly, we lost Bill. Bill was getting caught up in that big time because Bill likes Rappy. And
yeah.
I think it's sinking into a few people. I am well connected, getting more well connected every day.
Yeah, it's just unfortunately people like to watch their own channels. That's it, really. It seems like to me.
Yeah. Well, we'll sink it in. We'll start getting a few in there, and you know,
I'm
people.
Play some more Skyrim after we did anyway, so I'll be back online in about half an hour.
Well, before you do Skyrim, brother, because I'm going to be basically offline for the next week and a half. Because I mean, my wife was telling me today, she's like, you know, Christmas Eve, I've been invited on like 3 different shows, but I'm booked up solid. So I basically told her this here right now is probably the end for me till the beginning of the year, except I'm going to get some stuff in the mail. I might do a quick live.
Yeah.
But I got so much going on. This is going to be the last for me. So from me, my wife, my kids, my mom especially.
Yeah, of course.
Merry Christmas, buddy. What a hell of a year, huh?
Yeah.
What a hell of a year. So, but my lots of my family send you love. You are quickly being adopted into my family, buddy.
Okay.
So, but Merry Christmas. I'll try and peek in on you while you're playing games and stuff, but
yeah, we're cover slingers. Still doing cover slingers. Let's see how it goes. I think New Year's Day cover slingers might be off because Matilda, I think she's busy, but anyway, we'll see. But what happens.
So if I can peek in the thread on that, I will, but I doubt it. I think my phone's going to be set aside for the next week. So
yeah, you got to spend time with the family for Christmas, mate.
Yeah, we just got too much going on. Got to clean the house, prep stuff. I'm going to be spending Christmas Eve cooking in the kitchen and doing all that happy horse stuff.
Santa, I guess, and scaring the grandkids.
Yeah. That's the whole objective, chasing the grandkids around the house. So, but it's been a hell of a year, buddy. I'm looking forward to next year. And look at how many people are just lining up going, hell yeah, I'll come back on. Hell yeah, I'll do this.
Yeah. Some good information. I'll learn more by listening to people who actually know more about comic book creators.
Johnny, I had a video chat with Johnny, and Johnny said, damn, I want to come on bad. But he's physically moving furniture today. And he's like, if I wasn't moving furniture with my mom, I'd have come on the show just while I was moving around. But he said, I have to move furniture. Yeah. So once things settle down in the beginning of the year, he's got granted, when he showed us Batman 1 and his AF-15 signed by Stan Lee, that's some of his big boys. But he has the first Flash Gordon, the first Tarzan and Pulps. He's got a holy shit collection that we're gonna have some fun.
Nice to see more of them. Yeah. Next time he needs to have his phone like set somewhere so he can just have his hands free for showing comic books. I mean, this time he was holding it in one hand and filming it, so it was a little bit awkward for him.
Yeah, you'll get that. I'm thinking Rappies. I got to turn on my notifications again, but I'm getting Rappies.
Box, mate. All the links for both the guys, so that people are watching this. If anyone watching in the future, they can like go and follow the page.
Rappy will send me links. Bill will send me links. I'll send you links to all the stuff. You know, Bill. Yeah, you can get Bill on Facebook. So but they're good.
Thanks for watching. Everyone watches this in the future. Happy Christmas. Don't talk to you before then. I probably will. Anyway, I'm back to cover streams on Saturday, so I'll say Christmas then as well.